Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Thank fuck it's Friday. I don't know what you're doing tomorrow, but you're probably staying in. Kevin King is back in the hot seat here. Hey Kevin, how you doing? All the way from...
Man, this seat's really hot, man. This seat's really freaking hot.
What's going on over there? Like in the background there, what's the... We got a green screen rolling. That's not you in Hong Kong, you're in Texas.
No, that's actually Austin. That's actually the view right outside of my window.
Is it? Excellent. Okay, cool. So for those that may not know you, I'm sure most people do. Do you want to give a little bit of background on yourself? And I'll start sharing this live to some of the groups.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, so my name is Kevin King. I've been doing e-commerce for quite some time. Since before there was a Google. I sell on Amazon, sell on other platforms. I also teach people with a Freedom Ticket, Helium 10 Elites. I run a conference called the $1 Billion Seller Summit for high-level Amazon sellers, a product sourcing company that helps Amazon sellers find products to launch called Product Savants. And in the process of launching 2 brand new brands right now as we speak. So it's been very little sleep.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so I'm going to quickly say some hellos to people who enter the room. Patricia's here. Eric is here. My daughter Miley's there, so I better be careful with my fucking swearing. She's only 14. Alan Gordon's here. Hello, Alan. How you doing? Craig's here. Danielle's here. David is joined the call as well. Anyone who got any questions, feel free to hit up the comments. Cy is here. Herb is back. Hello, hi, Herb. Hello, Cy. Who else we got? Bogdan. Hey, Danny McMillan and Kevin King. Great to hear and see from you guys again. Eric Chang. Oh, he's just copied in people to check out the show. So welcome, guys. I hope you're enjoying your Friday. As you can see, this week I've been wearing a hat because I've got lockdown hair. I'm on a promise for Sunday. My wife is promised for a trim. I miss the Turkish barbers and stuff. So I look like a hobo at the moment. Okay, Kevin. Let's kick off with you. There's stuff we talked about off call, which you can review and what you can't review. So do you want to talk about some of the stuff you can reveal first, and then we'll get into the show?
You mean about what I'm doing?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's like this is a super busy time for me. It's hardly any sleep. I work from home. I have an office here from my house. I have a condo in downtown Austin, and it's been crazy. We're launching 2 new brands, 2 new companies, 2 different sets of investors. One of them is a really hot product right now, and the other one is a little bit. It's a really good product, but it's a little bit more of a long-term play. So yeah, it's like I'm running 3 shifts. I have the U.S. audience where I'm dealing with insurance people and banks and credit card processing for our own website and setting up that. And then I have some partners in England, so dealing with their time zone. And then the bulk of what I'm dealing with is in Hong Kong. So I'm up until 4 or 5 in the morning sometimes, just on conference calls and dealing with that. So it's been crazy.
So basically, you're running on 3 shifts, right? So you're doing Asia, UK, US.
That's right. It's hardly. I mean, I have no time to do hardly anything. I watch about 20 minutes of TV at night just to relax before I go to sleep, and that's it. Hardly even seen the wife. It's been crazy.
So your wife won't be happy with me if I've nabbed you for an hour for this session for everyone.
No, she's still sleeping right now, so I think we're good.
Excellent. Cool. Right. So let's get into, we're going to talk about cash flow. I mean, you've run multiple businesses over the years. You've gone from the age of whatever age it was, selling on lemonade stands, etc. You've never really had a day job in the sense that you've worked for someone else. So you've had enough experience over the years of when to leverage cash, when not to. Do you want to reveal some stories that you can? Like, let's talk about the negatives and the positives. Let's look at when you shouldn't be taking cash off the table, especially in the current climate.
Yeah, I mean, in the current climate, you might think there's a lot of cash that's not on the table anymore, but it's not actually true. I was seeing, and a lot of my investor friends are actually saying this is a great time to invest if you have the right thing. You know, and maybe that's an Amazon product because e-commerce is booming, Amazon's booming, but there are certain markets that people are going to pull back from, but other markets, I think, this crisis has created opportunity. And so there's a lot of people looking to invest out. But back on that side, like you're right, I have been an entrepreneur my whole life, and a lot of times I never really took a lot of outside investments. You know, I've never been one of these guys that raised $10 million to throw into my company. That's not my that's not my bailiwick. I'm more the guerrilla marketing type of guy, where hey, I need a few 100,000, or I need 20,000, or something like that to get it going. And back when I first started, most of that really didn't even start until just recently. A lot of that, when I first started 30, 40 years ago, it was guerrilla marketing. It was, how can I make a VIP club and charge $100 to join this VIP club so I can sell 200 people into that and get 20 grand in cash that I can then buy inventory or buy, pay my bills with. It was having to get creative in the beginning. And then getting people to prepay for things just to generate the cash flow. This is the days before Amazon. This is back in direct mail and direct marketing and that kind of thing. But now I'm at the scale where I do need to go out and get cash up front. Like one of the companies that we're doing right now has a 7-figure investment behind it. And so that's a little bit different approach. It's a different accountability. It's not just me and robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's I got other people to answer to. So it's a whole different mindset when it comes to that.
Excellent. And so give me some examples of what isn't a good deal for people to look at nowadays. It's like, obviously you've got Amazon loans, but they've just pulled that back for a short period of time while they're getting through the chaos that is just essential goods, right? So people will go the route of loans there. There's other kind of loan options in the space which people can use, but you've got to look at the interest and the compounded interest rate over a period of time. Where is some good money at the moment, like good clean money to take off the table that's going to be easy to, not easy to repay, but just less stressful, like with an Amazon loan when they pull the money back and wheel back in, you're a bit stuck, aren't you? So
yeah, I mean, the best money always is friends or family.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they say, which do you want? Do you want the money or do you want the friends? Because you can't have both. Because if you get into a pickle, but it's still the easiest money. Friends or family or friends of friends is the easiest to get. But where you got to be careful when whether you're getting money there or investors or wherever you're getting it, you got to look at the value of equity versus debt. And so sometimes it makes more sense to actually take on debt than it does to take on equity. If you ever watch Shark Tank or something, or what's it called, Lion's Den or whatever it's called,
Dragon's Den in the UK.
Dragon's Den in the UK, and I think Canada. Sometimes they'll say on there, "We'll give you equity," or Kevin O'Leary was like, "I'll give you a loan, and you just pay me back." So you have to evaluate, because I see so many people make the mistake, especially when they're first starting. They give someone 50% or 70%. You're the one doing all the freaking work. You're the one that going to have the skill set. Money is easier to come by, so don't ever give someone up half for doing nothing. If someone's going to put in a $50,000 or $100,000 into your business, give them 5-10%. Now, you got to have a fair evaluation. You always see, like on Shark Tank, they're like, "Well, what are your sales?" And, "Oh, you're evaluating this at X amount of dollars, and you're asking for this." So there is a give and take there. But sometimes debt equity is better. Like, for example, when I was growing one of my early Amazon businesses, I had equity into somebody else that was putting in money, and they had about 15% of the company for putting in a couple $100,000 is what they put in, and they got 15%. And then I needed additional money on top of that. Rather than going back and giving away more equity, I actually went and got loans. And I figured that the interest rate on the loans is, some of those loans might have been a little bit steep because they're from Cabbage or from somewhere like that. The interest rate still was better than actually giving away the equity, because the loan would allow me to, let's say, double my sales. And if I could double my sales, paying a little bit higher than normal interest rate, that's better than actually giving someone 15% of those doubled sales and all future sales. So you have to analyze it from both of those ways. I mean, there's tons. I mean, things are a little bit different right now. Some things have tightened up. It's going to be interesting to see. But the Cabbages and the On Decks and the Blue Vines and all those guys. There's sellers funding. I think is still giving funding for Amazon sellers. Amazon has cut it back for a little bit to see what happens. So it's dried up a little bit. So it's going to be more friends and family or creative methods right now. Unless you can get, if you can qualify for one of these PPP loans, even if you don't need the money, it's such a low interest rate that if you're an American citizen, have American business, get one of those, and you can use that money perhaps to help as well. Even if you don't need it, I would still apply.
What's your take? Actually, before we go into the next question, I was going to just bring up a point. Going back to friends and family, like we said, you can lose a friend. You won't lose the family member, but you can lose their friendship, and you can lose friends through business, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful. I think the other danger is as well is if someone gives you money and they're not business people, they're just giving you some of their savings. They don't understand the mechanics of business. For instance, they've worked for the man or whoever most of their life. That becomes difficult conversations to have over a period of time when things are not going right, because they don't know how to handle it. Whereas you've done loads of businesses. If you give, like, if me or you give some money to someone's business, we know that businesses go up and down. We understand the dynamics. Right. We know that when you lend that money, it's not coming back in 3 months. It might come back in 3 years, if not at all. But sometimes when you loan money in terms into a business, you've got to affect, like, the way you got to look at it is, are you willing to set fire to that money? Right.
Exactly.
And write that off,
I always tell people you should never invest, if you're an investor, and that's a family member too, never invest something you can't afford to lose.
Yeah.
Because there's no guarantees. And even in my current business of what we're about to launch right now, we have 2 investors that put in money. And I told them, look, Amazon's not a sure thing. Amazon, we're counting a lot on Amazon to get this going in the beginning. We are building a brand, but I don't know what's going to happen. You got to be prepared. This could go belly up. And so it's easier sometimes if it goes belly up to it's someone that you really don't know than it is if it's your friend or family. And that's one of the reasons that friends or family can be good for some people too, because it's going to force you to have a little bit more discipline, and you have someone that's you actually care about that you're answering to versus just a no-name bank. Yeah. And so, it's hard. And so if you're getting money from friends or family, don't ever take their last dime or have them mortgage their house or something like that. It should be money that's just sitting there, and you're promising that you might be able to give them a better return. Yeah,
I'm not sure of the figure, but I don't do that much in the way of investing. But people say you're partition your wealth, and then you allow a tiny maybe 5% or less of money that that you can invest on. Let's just say high risk startups, which you can lose because it's only 3 to 5%, and then you've got the more safer investments. What do you do in terms of when you look at what you've got put away and what you've accumulated over the years? If you're going to invest in something, how much of your percentage of your earnings would you put towards something, for instance?
Something that's risky, no more than 10%.
Yeah.
Something that's risky, but sometimes, you got to take risk. I mean, it's just like the Silicon Valley guys, they take risk. They bet in the early stages of Uber. And I mean, I have a friend right now who exited his Amazon business who's, he invests in it's like a $500,000 fund. So you put in 50 grand or 100 grand, and all these are super high. It's a Silicon Valley type of deal. All these are super high risk companies. They're the next potential Uber, but and 9 out of 10 of them are going to fail, and he's going to lose his money. But he's just banking on, look, hopefully one of them is going to have a hit, and it's going to be the next Uber, or Airbnb, or whatever. But he's risking, in this $500,000 fund, a little bit of money, and he may lose it all. But then the next one, he loses it all again. The next one, he makes it all back plus millions more. Yeah. So, but he's got that to play with, and it's not affecting his quality of life or anything like that.
Yeah. So that's like a VC fund, isn't it? They expect 99% to fail, and then have 1% or whatever percentage they work out as the home run that covers the fund. Then everyone's happy. Then they raise another round and they do another fund, don't they? So going on to credit cards, what's your take on cards?
I mean, credit cards are great for, if you're an Amazon seller especially, they can be great for earning miles and points and stuff like that you could, in the old days, you could use for travel and business travel or getting things. So I'm a fan of using credit cards in your business for that, but I like to pay off the balance every month. I mean, the interest rates are too high. Yeah. But if you're going to use that to finance your business, if you're American, you can go to bankrate.com. And you can search for 0% interest rate credit cards, and there's a bunch of them there if you have decent credit. Mm-hmm. And you can actually get these cards with like 0% interest for 18 months, 12 months, 18 months, different things, and you can string together some of those. It used to be a little bit more I did this when I first started. It used to be a little bit more difficult because you'd have to figure out how am I going to pay my supplier with that credit card. But now there's websites that allow you to do that for a small fee. Even if you got to take the cash advance fee, even that interest rate can be a lot lower than what you can get from a Cabbage or from someone else. So I'm not against that, but I would be careful there because you can build something up where you have trouble paying it. and you're just stacking basically on top of each other, and that can be a problem. I mean, the thing a lot of people when they get into their Amazon business, especially, is they think they're going to make a living off of it from day one, and you got to quit that. If you need to make a living, go do some retail arbitrage or something where you can take a little bit out off the top. But if you're trying to do a private label business, you're not going to really be able to take any money unless you just hit a home run. You're one of the lucky people for quite some time if you're really trying to grow this into a real business. So you need to approach it from that point of view. And so you can get into trouble if you're trying to live off of it and you're having to take more loans to not only cover your business, but also to cover your living expenses. Yeah. And that can create a snowball effect where you're stacking loans on top of each other, and it's going to be very difficult to get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, going back, I think 2015, 16, I used to look at seven-figure sellers and I used to think to myself, why the fuck are you running software companies, these services? I never got it. And then I got to that stage, it was like, holy shit, I'm not going to have any money left over. I'm just buying inventory all the time. So you diversify your risk, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's why they start teaching classes. That's why, you know, you see somebody, there's a bunch of them all over YouTube that have sold one product or two products, and maybe they're still selling or maybe not, and all of a sudden they got a whole YouTube channel and a course on how to sell on Amazon, because that's the only way they can make money. Yeah. That they can take out.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, like for me on the conference, I got 3 businesses. On the conference side, what I've learned is that I'm lucky enough to be in a position where I don't do affiliate deals, but I get sponsorship. And so every event I put on moving forward, I've got one launching soon, which I'll announce in a couple of weeks, I will build the event and the sponsorship packages around it that wipes them out the event. So if I don't sell a ticket, straight off the bat, all the costs are covered. So everything on top is cream. But not everyone's always in that position to do so because of affiliate deals and stuff like that. But in 4 years, I've never taken an affiliate deal. And so that's given me an opportunity. It's like, okay, so now I can put on an event, reduce the risk, have an event that's in the control that I want to be able to do it without investors saying this, that, and the other, and I have to report to them or pay back on any losses or anything else. Basically, it's not that it's free money, because you have to look after the interest of all your sponsors and make sure it's worthwhile for them. So eventually, if the event was empty, then that doesn't benefit. Therefore, it kills off any chance of doing the next event in the future. So you've got a lot riding on it reputation-wise, and whether the event is busy or not. But it is a great way of reducing risk by using the money that you raise from the sponsorship, because it's not like an investor where there's a return onto the back of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I do that with one of my events as well.
That's what I thought. So if you don't mind, I'm speaking publicly about this stuff, and you don't have to, it's entirely up to you. But do you do the same with the $1 Billion Summit? Your expenses are far higher than mine, right? Because yours a higher ticket price, but you know, you go in higher, more exclusive hotels and stuff like that. So
our event's $5,000 to come. I mean, it's a small event, so it's not like I can have 1,000 people there. It's under 100 people limit. And you might think, damn, Kevin, $5,000, you got 100 people there, that's 500 G's. You must be just raking in the money. But actually, no, it's profitable, but not what you think. Because like on my case, the reason people are paying $5,000 is because they want that higher level hotel. They want all the experiences. You know, we take them out and go wine. We do a whole networking day where we go out and shoot guns, or go wine tasting, or do all kinds of, you know, go race at the F1 track here in Austin, all kinds of crazy stuff that costs a lot of money. And then we take care of them. It's a very VIP experience. But the sponsorship side, in my case, does not cover the cost of the event. It's almost like the sponsorship side is my profit. And the cost of the tickets is what pays for the event. And because I fly my speakers in, I pay them, I put them up. So those guys are coming from all over. I don't pay them. I mean, I pay their airfare, and I pay to put them up, and all their food. So that a lot of events don't do that. You know,
I agree. Yeah, no, it's one thing right there.
You're on your own dime. So I do that. So I do a lot of extra things, and I enjoy doing it, and I enjoy bringing those people together. And you know, it's going to be interesting seeing how these things work the rest of this year going forward.
Yeah, we're going to find out, aren't we? So at the end of the day, these are still high risk ventures, you know, that you do. You're going to live or die by if the events fall. Like I might be in a lucky position now, but if the next one's empty, that kills all sponsorship going forward. It's a done deal. It's a zero sum game. You either in or you're out, you know.
In your case, though, if let's say it is, I don't think it's a zero. Both of our cases, if our event just doesn't fill up, you know, people pay this sponsorship. We both have audiences that we've built, so we can actually provide those sponsors another value. We have almost like a plan B. Like, sorry, you know, we promised you 200 people, but there's only 7 people in the audience. Sorry about that, but you know what? Here's what I'm going to do instead. You know, I'm reaching. Seller Sessions reaches, you know, however many people it reaches and thousands. I'm going to do this. I'm going to you know, put you on every podcast, whatever. We're going to get you that value. So we can do that. Yeah,
no, that's a good point. That's a good point. So going back round, so we've just gone through the card side of things. We've kind of, for a better word, we've covered angel investors, which is friends and family and stuff. What about out there for people that take in investment from like larger companies that know what they're doing? You know, they've got a portfolio of funds and they go, actually want to get involved with Amazon businesses. How would you say is the best way to approach those kind of deals?
Sell your business to them and get out of there, because those people a lot of times are more, they're going to want to. We talked about this earlier about, you know, how much people know about your business. You can get too many chefs in the kitchen and too many people. And more passive investors are the best ones. They're just like, they put in their money, they expect a return. You give them a report every once in a while, and that's it. Versus someone that puts in some money and then they feel like they now own it and want to know every little thing you're doing. That can be a problem. And so some of those big like family funds and stuff that are investing, they can be good, but usually those are not doing initial startups. Usually, though, unless you're an experienced seller. I mean, if you're someone that's been doing this for 5 years, like I have, you know, you may have people that come in and say, okay, we'll back you. But if you're beginning, that's going to be hard to get that. But if you can get that, it depends on what you have to give up and what they're giving in return. The one thing I like to say is, if you go to someone like that, is if they're putting in, let's say, $50,000 to help you out, I want to know if there's more behind that. So, like, okay, if we'll decide if I'm going to work with someone like that or not. Is if you put in $50,000 now and I prove myself, then we're growing. I'm going to need more money. As you know, these businesses are cash intensive. Is there another $250,000 behind it? I mean, one of our investors right now, one of our companies, they put in a mid 6 figures upfront in cash, like deposit to the bank account, and then there's a £1 million+ line of credit behind it. And so that way we're positioned that if we grow this the way we think, we don't have to go back to the bank, so we don't have to go to Cabbage, or we don't have to go to Amazon lending, and the deal is in place to say, look, that line of credit is there, we can tap that, and the interest rates, it's not for more equity, you don't get a dime more equity, it's interest, and it's 1% over the current market rate. So it's going to be at a fair price, and that's all negotiated up front.
That makes sense. So moving on, if someone where we are now, let's just say we've got, because obviously, like you said, there's sellers out there that are doing essential and non-essential goods. So we know that Amazon's an all-time high. That you said its best quarter ever. It's gone in, valuation's gone over into a trillions, etc., or into a trillion and some change. What would you say for people that have got a surplus of cash now and they don't want to reinvest back into inventory? What can they do with that money to diversify their risk?
I mean, that depends on their risk profile and what they want to do. But I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that have lost their jobs all over the world. And in some markets, you know, real estate's going to be dirt cheap. You're going to be able to get, stuff. I don't think that's going to happen here in Austin. It doesn't appear to be that the forecasts that's not the case, but there's a lot of places that are depressed. So real estate might be something I would look at. I think the world is going to change. Attitudes are going to change on some things. So maybe diversifying into, some of these up and coming things, like maybe investing in telemedicine or some food delivery, or some of these things I think are going to have a much faster acceleration even after this is all over, and they're going to become more standard. So those opportunities, there's new, just like e-commerce didn't exist 20 years ago, really. If you ask someone in the 1970s, you're going to be ordering something off of Amazon, they look at you like you're crazy, or off the internet. And there's going to be stuff that happens in the next couple years that I would be looking at. That's where I would put it. It's real estate or one of these emerging technology things.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm just going to say some hellos as well. Rems, he's here. Nicholas here. Yalinch. Clegg's here. Tiffany, how you doing? Abigail. Who else we got? Eric Payne's joined the call. I like Eric. He's got some decent models in terms of additional revenue. Gabrielle's here. Patan's here. Sharon's also here. Megla, hope you well. Sahel, hope you well. Cara, hope you well. Ben Valence is here. Tina and Mr. Steve Simonson's in the house as well. Wow. Tony Sagar, hope you well. Ricky, hope you are well. Guys, if you've got any questions, let me know.
Eric, you just mentioned Eric Payne there. Yeah. I mean, both of us know him, and he's smart about what he does. I mean, he makes good money.
I love his model
on his Amazon business, and then he's diversifying into multifamily homes. I think it is, and doing well there. So having multiple revenue streams, I think, is critical. And like you said, you have 3 businesses. I have like 7 or 8. I don't even know what the count is right now. Yeah. Steve Simonson, that you said is listening here. He probably has 6,000 or something. I don't know what he's got, but
he knows what he's doing. He's out there doing that stuff. Do you know one thing that I've thought about that I'd love to? I've never got around to doing it. Dull businesses. Do you know I want to own a car park? A car park. Go and buy a load of buy a load of cover.
We call those parking lots here.
Parking lots. I'm just things like that. Just investing. I either invest in people, like stock market and stuff's never interested me, and I haven't got a clue what the fuck I'd be doing anyway. But I know people, and I know boring businesses, and I think I'd like to look at car parks over the next few years. But we've got NCP and stuff, so I don't know what the model would be to make it work. But obviously investing in more people. I don't know about you. You've got 9 businesses. 3's enough for me. And I can't find the energy to rainmake on another business. I just don't have the capacity to do it. So do you, so this is benefit for the listeners here. Do you basically invest in businesses where others can run it? So basically they're the Kevin King part 2.
I try to, I mean, I have a mix. I mean, a lot of them, when you're first starting a business, it takes a lot of my time at the very beginning. It takes some of my time where I try to find things that are byproducts. Like one of the things I'm doing, one of the businesses, it's a byproduct of something I'm doing for another business. So as I'm doing something for one of the businesses, I can spin off from basically using the same amount of time for that. I can spend the excess. It's kind of like, if you're drilling for oil, you can make plastic or whatever it is out of the residue. That's where I look for. And I look for things where, like my partnership with the guys at Helium 10, I don't have to do anything. I could go out there and have my own. I mean, I have to teach, but I don't have to do any of the day-to-day is what I mean. So I don't have to manage customer service or deal with employees or deal with affiliates. They handle all that. So in exchange for a fee or a split that we do, it makes sense for me. So it's completely hands-off. I just show up and do my big thing. So I look for those kinds of things as well. And back on your point about the stock market, I don't invest in the stock market. I know some people do, but to me, the stock market is legalized gambling. Right. It's all it is. It's just a legal casino. And so I don't like that. That's what people are taught. That's what people in the United States think is the right thing to do. And for some people, it may be okay. There's nothing wrong with having a little bit over there, but I think there's better ways to use your money.
Yeah. Andrew's got a question for you. What's the key daily routine that could help me grow into something like you, Kevin?
Oh man. Daily routine, staying organized. I mean, that's having a list of what you got to do and prioritizing what comes first. I mean, you could have 1,000 things on your list or 100 things on your list, but you got to prioritize that to what moves to the top is what is going to make the biggest difference and make the biggest impact. And leave the little things. Don't worry. Don't stress over some of the little things that maybe you should do those, but it's not going to be driving you forward. You can either pass it off to somebody else or deal with it another time or not deal with it at all.
That's interesting. Like with you, I've noticed, like, I don't know if that's changed now, but it's like you run all these businesses, but you don't have any VAs. Is that still the case now?
That's still the case. I mean, with these 2 new companies, we are going to be hiring some people, but I job it out. So when I say I don't have VAs, I'll use independent contractors. I'm not the guy doing all my graphics. I'm not the guy doing all the social media. I will hire, people to do some of that. I mean, but like with these 2 that we're doing, we're actually hiring a couple people that will be doing like the social media side. And once it reaches a certain point, if you're running a $10 million business, that's different than running a couple $1 million business. And so when you get to that point, you do need infrastructure and people. And so we're building one of these to sell it for 20+ million. And or actually two of them. And so that's going to require some additional people and some additional team.
Yeah. So to my answer to your question, Andrew, I'm not in Kevin's league, but what I do is I outsource absolutely everything. So my golden rule is I work on the businesses, not in the businesses. I might need to kickstart them. I deal with all the day-to-day troubleshooting, all the firefighting and everything else. That's my job. I call it, for a better word, I clean up all the shit and deal with all the bullshit in and around the businesses that take place, make sure that everyone's happy, clients are happy, customers are happy. That is my job, is just to be the firefighter and make sure that all the teams are, you know, whoever's doing their job is executing. Do they need me? Do I need to mentor them? Thank them on a daily basis, stay in regular contact, you know, whatever they need. My job is to support them, but my job isn't to do the day to day. Like, because I'll be taking off of their plate. So I've gone from doing everything myself a few years ago to then getting a taste for it, for outsourcing some of the, and now I try and outsource absolutely everything and just obviously harness and encourage a team to carry out the work.
I mean, one of the advantages, I think, to his question, too, that I have is I've done a little bit of everything. I've dabbled a little bit, and I know how to talk to the social media people because I've taken a course on Facebook ads, you know, so I know the basics. I mean, I've done a little bit. I've dabbled, you know, I know the Amazon, I know the sourcing. I know a little bit about a lot, but I'm not an expert, but on only a few things. So I concentrate on the things that I'm an expert at, and then the rest of them, I try to hire people out, you know, to do some of that stuff. But at least I can communicate with them and I can guide them in the right way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there any more other questions in the feed? If you want to drop down any of your questions below, we can get Kevin to answer those. So Kevin, what's going on? Like, what's your week looking like at the moment? I know that it looks crazy and you're obviously observing the stay at home rule to a point. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty much staying at home. I do have to go out occasionally to the bank or something, just because I'm having to get some documents and things that you got to do in person, or it speeds up the process. But I'm very careful when I go out. I feel like I'm almost like a medical doctor. I have gloves, special gloves.
I've seen the suit. Yeah, there's a photo.
A little suit, and sometimes I wear that whole suit. Sometimes I don't wear that, but yeah, it's I have a whole procedure, and we have one of those UVC lights. I think I bought it like 2 months ago, and it just showed up like a week ago. It's like $700. It's not the small ones you get on Amazon, but it's medical grade. So like every package that comes in, my wife's like, scan that thing. You know, we scan the gloves, we kill everything. So we're very, very particular on that. But yeah, it's super busy times. I was right now, like I was saying earlier, it's like running 3 shifts.
Yeah. And do you break in between? Like if you know, like, you know, you can work hard, but you got to work smart as well. Or is it just like you work till you drop kind of vibe?
No, I work smart. That's a good point. I do work hard, but I also work smart. And so I do take a little break, but it's 20 minutes, you know, get up, stretch your legs, and then say hello to the wife, play with the dog a little bit, and then it's back to work. And it's working all the way, and, you know, answering messages on the phone. Before I wake up in the morning, I'm checking my phone, doing the basic stuff. It's a lot right now.
Yeah.
But that's a good, I mean, I love it. I love this time. And, you know, I've gone through phases in my business career where my dad used to, you know, back in 2007, 2008, I was traveling a lot. I went to over the course of 7 years, I went to 92 countries. Wasn't a backpacker type of guy. I was traveling, you know, well. It wasn't, you know, staying in the 4 seasons and fly first class every time, but I was traveling well. And my dad used to say, you're like semi-retired. It's, you know, when are you going to go back to work? And I'm like, I'm having fun right now. I'm making good money. I'm living off the hard work that I did. And so I'm of that stage right now. It's like, look, the opportunities are immense right now. I've never seen better opportunities in my life, you know, than right now. And so if I can take advantage of those, work my ass off for the next 2 or 3 years and have a big cash out, you know, if I sell one of these companies for, let's say, even 10 million, if I get a $10 million windfall, my cut off of one or multiple of these companies, you know, it's nice having like the partnerships I do with Helium 10 and some of the others. That's nice revenue, but you got to work every time to make that revenue. You got to keep it. Yeah, you know, people can go pay you money and watch the course and you don't have to work, but you still got to work. But if I can have a $10 million payday off of one of these or a combination of these, I know that I could then set that aside and basically live off the interest. And I'm set. And so that's my goal now is, look, take advantage of this opportunity right now, work your ass off, and 2 or 3 years from now, I can go sit on the beach.
Yeah. So you're looking to take legacy money off the table, live off the interest there, that you don't have to work. That's freedom, isn't it? It's not just like people talk about wealth. Freedom is working when you want to work and doing what you want to do when you want to do it. That's basically wealth to me, isn't it? But I don't know about you. But so what would you like to do in the next few years? Like you just mentioned there, if you don't mind sharing a bit more, is that you got these businesses, you want to cash out. Is there anything specific like you're not doing now, like you would like to do in 3 or 4 years' time?
Yeah, I like to spend more time with like my wife and my family that I'm spending now. I'm kind of reversed. A lot of people, they're working a corporate job or they're doing the Amazon. They're trying to get to a point where they can travel the world or have that freedom. I've had that in the past. I've done that. If something happened to me today, if I got the coronavirus and died tomorrow, I've lived a very good life. I've lived most people's dream life. We've talked about, if you go back and listen to your Seller Sessions episode we did on my background, there's a little bit more in there, and there's even more. I think Steve Simon's on Awesomers, he did one too. I revealed a few more things on that podcast. But yeah, that I've lived a good life. So my goals are a little bit different. I think just sitting around doing nothing, sitting on the beach would be boring to me. I have to be doing something. I want to be in a position where I can give back, because if you're fortunate enough to make a lot of money, one of the things you got to do is you got to be able to give back to people and help other people. Everybody needs a hand. Everybody needs a little push. And that's what I would like to do. I mean, one of the things is travel. One of the things I think a lot of people, especially in the United States, don't do is travel. They've been to another state or they've been to Mexico and they consider that international travel. Once these things settle down and life gets back to a little bit like it was in the past, I think travel is one of the most important things that anybody can do. It opens your mind. I've been to all 7 continents, seen all the different religions and cultures. When I see stuff on the news about Israel or about China, I have a whole different perspective than what most people do. To a lot of people in the U.S., when this virus was, that's over there in China. Well, that's a far off place. It's backwards. All they do is eat rice and, whatever. You don't have any clue about the culture or the people, or it's the best education you can get is to travel and not. And so I want to help people do that. I want to be like a sponsor where, maybe between, when you're 17, 18, 19 years old, I'll have a fund, almost like a free fund, that'll say, look, I'll sponsor you to travel for a year. But, as you're traveling, you got to give back, and you need to go places where you don't understand the language and you don't understand the food. And where you can actually get to know those people, not just go see the tourist sites. That's not traveling. That's cool to go see tourist sites and see history. But one of the biggest things that I enjoyed when I was doing all the travel is everywhere I would go, I would hire a private guide. I'm not one of these bus tours or cruise ship type of people. So I would go online, I would hire a private guide. This maybe it cost me $100 a day in a lot of places. And I mean, some places a little bit more, some places less, but say it's $100 a day. And this person drives me around everywhere. By the end of a week, going all over England, or England's not a good example, going all over Cambodia. By the end of that week, the guy's taken to meet his family and to see his house and how he lives and have a meal, sit down and have a meal with them. That's really traveling, where you're going behind the scenes. That's what I think people need. It just opens your mind to people, to the world, to humanity, to everything.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the travel makes a big part, especially for people that have come from a poor background. If you come from, like me, on a council estate and stuff, there are people out there that didn't travel. Your mindset is completely different until you're traveling. My mum took me traveling when we were younger to different countries. At the time, I used to moan because it was too hot and I didn't like it. I was just a kid. I found it boring. She wanted to sit on the beach. But it's not until you look back years later that the benefits you do get from opening your eyes. So going on to kind of more mindset stuff is that you mentioned opportunity earlier on. And I think often that's missed because people are not they're not looking. So they're in defense rather than offense, to use an American term, right?
Yeah.
What do you think, for the audience listening and play back on the podcast and stuff, 3 things that people should be doing to find those opportunities in terms of opening their mind to this?
I mean, look around you. I mean, there's opportunity in almost everything that's out there. It just depends on how creative you are. and focus on the positives and not the negatives. And you can see opportunity in almost everything. And a lot of times, if you really focus. If you focus on something, you can conquer. Multitasking sometimes is not a good thing, and can take distraction away. So as far as the three things to focus on for the opportunities, look for things. It depends on, there's a number of criteria that do you have money or do you not have money? Are you connected to people or not connected to people? One of the ways that I'm able to actually do what I'm doing right now with multiple businesses, back on that, how do you juggle, you're launching three new businesses right now. It's because of what I've done and been doing this for long, I'm connected. I know all the best people. And so I can just pick up the phone and say, Ashlyn, I need insurance. Bob, I need this. Tony, can you do this? Hey, Nathan at Free Up, I need, if I need a VA, I need this person to do this specific thing. It's very easy to get the ball rolling and quick. Yeah. So it depends on your situation. To give three recommendations, it would totally depend on the person.
A black book. I agree with you. I've just through the podcast alone, I've built a wealth of contacts throughout the industry. If I want to put a crack team together, I know that through my relationships and goodwill with working with everyone within the community, they'll take my call in most cases. And if I want to get something done, and I think that's important, which comes down to networking as well.
Yeah, and networking, your network, they always say your network is your net worth, and I believe that. So one of the biggest things you could do is, if you don't have money, is just start extending your network. Do whatever you can to extend your knowledge and your network. The two things that can really make a difference is knowledge. Knowledge is power, and your network can be your net worth. So those are two things that you could really focus on. And if you put yourself out there, opportunities come. So if you're just going to sit back in your house and watch Netflix and cry in your beer, not much going to happen unless you just lightning strikes. But you got to put yourself out there. The more opportunities, the more places you put yourself, the more times things can happen. One of the investors in one of the companies I'm doing, they met me at a conference in Hong Kong. I was speaking at the Global Sources, and they met me there, and we had meetings, and that's led to one thing, another thing, and then one door opens, another door opens. So it's amazing what can happen when you put yourself out there.
Well, you done that, didn't you? Like one of your goals, and we covered it on the podcast, so I'm not revealing anything. You spent a year being on the road, didn't you? You went to literally many countries, you raised your profile and everything else, and it put you into a good position to create and take opportunities off the table.
Yeah, when I first started selling on Amazon back in 2000, or FBA, I've been selling on Amazon since 2001, but FBA in 2015, I was the guy that just wanted to stick my head down and stay in my house and just let's build some products and build some cool stuff and get it going. And then Manny Coach is the one that convinced me to go on his podcast. I didn't want to do it, but I posted something in his group, his Facebook group, High Rollers at the time, and he liked it. And he's like, hey, come on the podcast. I'm like, nah, I'm going to stay over here. And I went on that podcast, and it became popular. And it just snowballed from there. And I was like, well, if that's one of those things where you put yourself out there. It wasn't something I planned. And then it led to being on all these different events and different virtual summits and all this. And then people asking me to come and speak. I'm like, wait a second, if you want me to fly to Israel to speak at your conference, that sounds cool, but I'm busy. You need to pay me. And so I was actually getting 5 figures at some of the things that I spoke at to actually be, we would work out some sort of deal where I would teach a little bit extra or something, and we would do a revenue share. But that justified my time. And then also being there, I did it purposely from everywhere from Hong Kong to Israel to Europe to the US to you name it, everywhere I could go. The only place is South America probably I didn't do a conference at. But you guys were organizing one there at one point that didn't come through.
It didn't come through, yeah.
To get out there and to meet all these different people. And now that's paying off. And so I made it self-pay for itself and justify itself. It just wasn't for fun or for gaggles or for ego. It was to make those connections. And just like I run the Helium 10 Elite mastermind for Helium 10. I have my $1 Billion Seller Summit. I have a need to know people and relationships. Hey, well, you want to come speak? And that opens all that up as well, where people usually will take my, like you said, take my call.
Yeah, no, it's important, but then you have to give before you can take, and it's about building relationships, doing for others before you're not asking for a favor, but if you put out enough goodwill out there and you do good things, then people are normally willing to take your call, and that is half the battle really, is to getting deals done. is by having those relationships from day one, you know?
Yep.
Cool. I think we've revealed quite a lot behind the scenes stuff here, Kevin. So people have got an earful, whether they appreciate it or not. Hopefully that they do. But it's just, I wanted these dailies have just been about being super transparent, you know, about what we do and trying to help others. And if they can take pieces away from today and apply that to their business, our job's done.
I mean, one of the things back on the original idea of the money, you got to be careful if you start taking on debt financing to finance your inventory and your Amazon business. It can actually sink you.
Yeah,
you know, it's a kind of a catch-22. You need money to grow, but at the same time, there's so many variables out there that can sink you, and so you got to be very careful. Never take on debt to keep the lights on or to pay yourself in this business. Always take on debt. Where there's going to be a direct ROI to it, where every dollar is going to go back into an inventory, or if there's a marketing opportunity, that's where you should put your money. Don't take it on. I mean, you see it right now in the United States. There's a lot of companies, you know, the U.S. government's just giving away, you know, $350 billion or whatever it is in this PPP fund. There's more coming. A lot of that's to meet payroll. And so a lot of these companies are taking that money to meet payroll. But that money, I think the government realizes this, they're never going to see most of that money because most of these businesses are not going to make it through because they're not set up right. And they're using that money for payroll to get by. And I think you're going to see a big fallout, you know, out there with a lot of the unstable people that didn't have a sound business or weren't built on good business principles are going to fail. And I think you're going to see a lot more companies taken seriously to be ready for a rainy day. Because I don't think this is the first time in our lifetime we're going to go through something like this. I think now I think it's a blueprint for terrorism. So I think, you know, this is going to, I fully expect in the next, once we get through this coronavirus, whether that's in a month or 2 years from now when there's a vaccine or whatever the time frame may be, I fully expect this to happen again in the next 5 to 10 years, but a lot worse. And I think a bad actor, a bad state is going to use this. And so I think a lot of people need to be in your businesses preparing more for that rainy day. Was it in the U.S. something like 60-70% of people live paycheck to paycheck? They don't even have $1,000 to fix their
savings,
their car if it breaks. This just highlights that problem. And so I think you're going to see some changes in society.
Yeah, I agree. And I think with people, when we talk about wealth and growing wealth, they forget that a lot of people that become wealthy, they saved their money. They never went beyond their means. I think you had that problem where people see wealth as like they'll get a pay rise and they'll spend all of their money like on a monthly basis, and then they'll meet them and then suddenly they're at their top end again, aren't they? But they don't realize a lot of people that generated wealth over a period of time, they were actually saving their money, reinvesting it. They wasn't wasting. They weren't being frivolous. They didn't have nice cars while they were building their wealth, you know?
I mean, it happens with sports figures. You know, they get a big contract to play American football or football, and then they're spending all that money, and as soon as they quit playing, you know, they're broke and filing bankruptcy. You see it. Or lottery winners, the same thing. They come into a lot of money, they spend it all. They're some of the most miserable. I would never want to win the lottery. I mean, some of the most miserable people in the world.
I think they say 18 months to 3 years for lottery winners, and sports stars 6 years is the average when they burnt through their fortune. Like as long as they're at the top end, you know. So
it's because they're getting paid. Well, in lottery winners, it's luck, and so they're not prepared to handle that. And then the sports people, a lot of times, it's just based strictly on the physical skill, and they're not prepared to handle it. Versus business people, we can plan to handle it a lot better, and if you do it right, you can be prepared. And that's what you're going to see. Weather the storm is the businesses that are prepared.
Yeah, agreed. On that note, should we leave it there?
Sure.
Jason Chu says, great conversation. Troy says, Kevin, you're the man. Abigail says, thank you, guys. Owen says, thank you. Appreciated and inspirational. Tiffany says, going back to your question earlier on, or the statement that you made about people traveling in the US, agree, people should, in the US, need to go to Europe and Asia, basically to expand on their mind. Andrew's question we answered earlier on said, thank you. Eric obviously heard what we said about him in the feed. Says, thanks, guys, trying to get to your level. I think, Eric, you're trying to get to Kevin's. You're way past me, my friend. And that's it. I think, you know, it's Friday. What else have we got here? So Nadia, sorry, said, love this. Andrew says, thanks. Louise says, thanks. Thank you guys for joining. Great, awesome session we've got here. Lots of love coming. Bill, hope you're well, brother. Thanks, Kevin and Danny. Great conversation. Annalise, thank you very much. Guys, be safe. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I'm back here. It's Women of Amazon Part 5 tomorrow. And then on Sunday, we're going to be Mindset Sunday. And it's all going to be in and around mental health as well. We know that there are people out there that are struggling and with what's going on. So I thought it'd be good to talk about that and be quite open about those kind of things. And then next week's schedule, I will be putting out on Monday. Again, Kevin, thank you for your time. Apologise for your wife because we stole an hour of your time away from her as well. Good luck with all your businesses and everything you're doing at the moment. And I look forward to getting you back on again soon.
Cool. Take care, everybody.
All right, guys. Take care.